Hello and welcome to Spear Point. It has been, it's been a little bit of time. And I will open this first by saying it is a true joy to be back and present in this way. So every video is kind of like it's very fun experience because I have a habit of like breaking things down on what is actually happening. So feeling the videos, it was interesting to feel it and actually be back. So I feel actually there's a little bit of joy and excitement, but also just relaxing and happiness to be back. So how is everybody doing? Because it's been one quite a week since I think the last video I did was it was the committing to the love one was the one that stuck out the most, and then it was the um I believe is the meeting point, but I can't really remember because it was so much has happened. So I think this is definitely a masculine initiation video, and then we'll go into it. So I'll give a brief how we got here and then where the energies are, because this is a beautiful, beautiful time. I mean, and it's an important time and it's amazing. Really, truly is. So the full moon in Scorpio kicked off, which feels like a year ago, and it was only last week. So when that kicked off, that was a huge um, activation when what I said and what I felt. And it was kind of like, it was very interesting because I was getting pulled back into the dark um, by myself. So when I felt that, I was kind of like, this is interesting, but you could feel all the love. So it was kind of like, what's going on here? And then as it continued, like it was just like, okay, like we're going to go back into the dark. And what it was actually was like a retrieval. So I had some very, very dear friends who I hold in the highest of regard, who really did help with that process that I didn't ask for. It kind of just came in naturally. But this retrieval, of course, the more you go along this journey, like there is like aspects of self that you retrieve and then you reparent and then you go along this process. But this is in a way that was very interesting because it was something within the masculine stream that was an old recurring pattern. And it had to do with the rebellion. It had to do with the coming into being, walking home, a lot of these really important processes, and even the commitment to love and the commitment to the other. So the external feminine, sorry. So how this occurred to me was that I really couldn't make a step forward. I couldn't continue walking this way, this path of initiation. And the doors were kind of like closing in a way of speaking. Like the external world was starting to close in. And then like the only expression was to go home. Like I knew that was the way. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. But like there was an aspect of self that had been left in the dark that I had abused, that itself has been abused. And one of the things that I saw that was so common within the masculine line was the absence of self love, but the willingness to give love to the feminine. And it was almost in place of that because it kind of served as like, it's a poor imitation of the sacred circuit. So, the sacred circuit, how I've always seen it, the feminine shines, right? And the masculine, like seeing it. The true expression from the masculine is just like pure joy, right? Because it's seeing you and you're the feminine's actually unfurling and like blossoming in like the true essence of her. So if like everything in your being just ignites with pleasure, joy, encouragement, admiration, like all of it, right? But then just seeing that is kind of like the sacred loop, because there's more exchanged than words ever could hope, right? Because it's just pure light. It's your entire being, right? That's the sacred circuit. And like the your masculine presence, you have to be embodied fully to be able to see that, right? To see the feminine in her true light, because otherwise, like there's a detriment somewhere. And I think the poor man's circuit, or the crude imitation is probably a better word, would be that the masculine can see that he's damaged, consciously, unconsciously, right? And then he gives the love to the feminine, and then in the hope that that returns so that he can repair what's inside. And it just doesn't work that way. And also, like, I don't even think, like, I wasn't aware that need for the last bit to come in was actually conscious when you're giving the love to him, because it just really doesn't feel that way. It's kind of like, no, I have this love, I can see you, and I have love for you. But then it's like there's a part within that doesn't feel the love, because you're not, the self love within yourself, the sacred circuit within, is not active fully, right? So then it kind of like it becomes this crying out of just being like, what are you doing? Right? What about me? And so witnessing this and then feeling it. And the thing that I thought was most interesting was that that is so natural, or not even that, it's not natural, but it's like so familiar, the muscle memory is in place, like to do that. It's just like, okay, but feeling that loss aspect and feeling that within yourself, and then also what does your love feel like first? And this is the funny thing, like I had to go back all the way back to like my inception of my life and walk with this aspect of self through every iteration, and it's still happening, and walk hand in hand and just explaining how we got here. That was the level, because he was so far removed from my own life. So this disillusion of self, this absence, this self rejection, um was so potent that my life had been moving, and it had to go this way. That was the funny part. So you had all these things, and like this, the hurt, the absolute justifiable hurt of not being present within it, but also that it had to go this way, and this was completely guided. Like all the walk, like how I got to Montana, like I had to share that, and then how I left Montana, and like the actual real world miracles. That was really fun, because I got to share that with my aspect of self and be like, look, this is what happened. And we couldn't have planned it if we tried. Nothing could have worked if it wasn't like divinely orchestrated. If it wasn't meant to happen, it wouldn't have happened that way. And those were really fun moments. So then you get like, you're sharing that thing and then also welcoming back in. But the thing, the root cause that I thought was very interesting to feel was because there was this self rejection of self. And it was rooted in, it was fun to trace it back. So it was rooted in the absolute deepest level you could go was the distrust and love itself. And feeling that, and then how it was expressed outwardly, on top of that, like some of the more shallow aspects, because how I had to go through it was like, okay, there's a distrust of my own self. It was like, okay. And then you go a little, you peel back the layer a little bit more, and there's a distrust in the feminine. And it's like, oh, okay. So an unwillingness to commit to the feminine, an unwillingness to strive to actually plant your feet firmly where you think they should be, because there's like this uneasiness of just like, I just don't fully trust you. And then peeling back the layer even further, and it was a distrust in love itself. And feeling that, I was just like, oh, this is the core wound. This is the wound within the masculine and how it's expressed, because feeling it was the rejection of love, like divine love that runs through everywhere, everything, like everything is built on that. But even further than that, it was the absence of your own love, because the internal circuit wasn't working, wasn't active fully. Like you can never fully damage that. Let's be real. But at the same time, you can shut down avenues and corridors, and then that you can feel within the body where it's not fully active. And also that striving, that's where a lot of that comes from, I think. That effort, that striving to do instead of be. Like, and also you do something, you get a cookie, right? That kind of action of like your effort is rewarded with love, but you're not deserving of it before. That is very, very rampant. And that's very, like, you can see that expressed in so many different ways, deep and not so deep, like surface layer. So physical or deeply energetic within the system. So feeling this, and then the actual solution to this was simple, but it required dedication, required commitment, honestly. And this is what had been toiling. So this is the day, I will say that today is a day that I personally, Connor, will mark on the calendar as an important day, because today is a day that I actually feel like the walk within, like, it's not done because it's never done. Like, it's a journey, right? But this is a day that is huge within my own story. Feeling it within the masculine collective and then seeing how this works is like such a treat, because I could see it within my own self. I'm just like, huh, this is hilarious. This is like, I can actually see it. Just like, I get it now. So I had to like actually see that and like look at my own system and dedicate my love to myself first, in a way I'd never done before. Because of course, like you wouldn't get to this point without it, without having some level of self-love. But this was on a different level. And the thing that I saw was that the wiring on how the masculine creates was changing, because I looked at my creations, like the channel itself and the website that's currently under construction and a couple other things that were some of my writings and some of like all the stuff that was guided, right? But I looked at all of them and I had to sit with myself and be like completely truthful and honest and say, all of those don't come first. You come first. And I had to look myself in that internal mirror and be like, there's nothing anywhere that I will put above you. And then feel that love kind of like pour in and just sit in it, kind of like a jacuzzi. So I could bring in all my aspects of self that I had recovered and like, but were just newly found as well. And we all could sit in the hot tub and be like, no, this is, and the water itself was from my own soul, and be like, this is our love. This is my own love. And it comes here first, and we can feel it and we can just sit in it. That is continuing, but it also is the foundation of what happens to a lot of the internal rebellion, the internal sabotage. It starts from that distrust and love. And the along this journey, the love you have for the feminine, that a lot of times it comes in, and then you have this detachment, right? This detachment phase is really, really key. And feeling it is almost, it's coming in a new expression, because it's actually being truthful on what that love actually means. When you say you love the feminine, what do you actually mean? What do you actually mean? And then get specific, because of course, like we're on a feminine planet, right? You cannot get embodied. I will say this, and it is true. Like you, as a masculine, you cannot get embodied until you activate that love that you have for the planet, and then being able to receive the love that she has for you, just as an expression. And it requires you to go really deep within the planet, because that's honestly where your soul essence first ignites. Like you're not able to walk around on the planet without first having your essence in union with the core of the planet. So going there and feeling it like that has to happen for a masculine, like just to come online, for anyone to come online. Let's just be real. So, and then you can see it like the divine feminine, like expressed. You can go to waterfalls, and like you can go to some very sacred places. But there's been mountains that have been like feminine expressions. There's been lakes. I mean, I can go to like a lot of these different places. I have gone and feel that kind of divine feminine expressed into the physical and what that is, and feel it. And then also that exchange, like some of the waters in Florida, that was a beautiful exchange back and forth, right? But it required a lot of growing on my part, and like they showed a lot of different things. There was a huge activation. Like that is, you follow the love within and the love that's between you, and then it kind of like, when your foundation is love, then it starts to provide the roadmap through. But then the physical expression, so the actual physical expression of a woman, or just, we can just say the divine feminine in a body. When you love that, you're only able to, and this has been said to, like, it's like beating a dead horse. So I really want to hammer this home, is that you can only do that by loving yourself. Here's the thing: you can love yourself and you can activate that self circuit. That's perfect. Perfect. But if you look at the detachment and you look at that and you put that first, it can express itself as another form of protective mechanism. Like when you're working on the distrust and love itself, and then it expresses itself with the distrust in the feminine, that can form and branch off, and it can express itself as this detachment of just being like, yeah, like it's up to source. And there's like, it is. And that question mark is blank because it's waiting on you. And this is someone, like, this is your own initiation. And this is what I feel is left open to the masculine initiation, basically, is that the door's open. And now, as you continue, you have to look at that and then feel it. So you're never going to put yourself last. Like that self-love is always present. And in the protective mechanisms that were justifiable through eons, now it's looked at again. And now you're looking at it and being like, okay, if I'm honest and if I'm true, then yeah, I do love her. Good. Stay there and then go deeper and feel it, because it's all about planting your feet. This is the masculine initiation. This is like actually striking into being. So all those parts of yourself that like self-rebel, and the self-retrieval, and then the self-love, like feeling it growing deep, going into the planet, marrying with your soul, coming in, having all these talks within, and continuing to go and listening to source. And then it's all laid down, and you are the pursuer force. So your old mechanisms of claiming, of forcing, of chasing, of doing all that, they won't work. And you don't want them to work. I can say that truthfully. I don't want them to work. I don't want the old energy. Like we've done that for how long, right? And then you feel it and just like, okay, so plant your feet. You don't need an outcome. That way's done. You're surrendered into source. You know how this is done, right? Playing in the true energy, when you act, when you walk, Like that's guided, but there's no set outcome. Your planning is done. Like you can plan all you want and your plans will go to shit. And that's fine. That's playing with true energy, right? You allow it to like fill the void of how this is supposed to go. You can open up the door, continue, go forward, and then also just not have an expectation. But planting your feet, you have to be honest about that. So you have the self love. Perfect. That's the first step because you have to work on that old wound of distrust and love itself. Now, what does it mean walking home? What does that look like? Can you honestly look at it and say, okay, without any detriment of myself, but also where does the love expressed externally go? And then how does that get, like, what is your honest pursuit in the true energy? What is that? If the dedication is truly within love and without attachment in source and not portraying yourself, so that the love for yourself and the love for everything in union with everything, then you can look at the feminine as an expression of you. And then you have to be honest about that because it's going to be the expression of your own self love. So, this is absolutely beautiful. And we'll continue with this because there's more to be said on that and how this kind of forms in and what is currently evolving because this is a big turning point and the I won't say that the pressure cooker's kind of like put on, but it does feel like a deep dive within, especially within the masculine system. Like if I could give a message from the masculine collective, like I have my stream, but the masculine collective in general, it feels like a kind of like brushing off point where you do, and it's uncomfortable because the core wound is being felt again. And I can say that from the masculine collective, my sense is that consciously or unconsciously, every guy is kind of feeling that at the moment. That uncomfortable core wound signature. And whatever you can chip off and heal from that, that is entirely within your own stream. You don't have to get it all done in one night. And whatever's like set up is set up. The main thing is just coming home, bringing those aspects of self and bringing all the hurt that has been lost that was the foundation of the trust and love, bringing that back in and sharing the results of how you got to where you are now. And then also, if you can actually pinpoint a physical, for lack of a better word, miracle that despite all odds, like you didn't do it, whether that's like, I mean, you can be very dramatic. Like you could be like you had a car accident and against all odds you were saved. Like you were survived without a scratch, right? Or to give you like, okay, to give you like an example from my own stream, there was a time where there was a ferry in Scotland that, I was destined to miss, like despite all odds. Like I was at the wrong port, like everything, like the boat was going to leave in 10 minutes. Like I was gonna like it was a holiday time in the town itself, a small town out on an island. No cabs are running. It's 11 o'clock at night. There's no way I'm making this. And yet I made it. And I can look at that moment and be like, yeah, that wasn't me. That wasn't Connor. Like I showed up and I had the willingness to go through it. But no, that was a real life miracle that I can pinpoint and then share to the other aspects and be like, no, like I know you don't trust in love, but look, it's present and it's happening. And as reality changes, like this is more and more important because the more that things change, the more it's that self counseling. And not even that, like the coming back to home, coming back to heart, coming back to center and looking at it and being like, All right, I know everything's falling apart, or that reality is changing, or that the world doesn't like match or anything like that. And I think that's a lot of the self-denial. It's because the external world doesn't match what some part of yourself always knew it to be. But then you can look at it, and when things actually change, then you can self-counsel and be like, look, this is love. Like, go into the true organics of this. Don't pay attention to the overlay, like come deeper into that love. And that's the foundation of that friction point, of that distrust, and being like, okay, like I love you. Like, you don't have to work. Like, that's the foundation point, your own self-love. Then you can connect to the love that is everywhere from divine. That's your access point. Perfect. Now, when you are a pursuer, like when you actually open, like actually that love for the feminine opens, now it's not going to be a diminishing act, because your infinity circuit of self love is concurrent, and you're not going to sacrifice this just to give. And then that's the rewiring of the circuits. So I will leave it here. I give everyone here a beautiful hug, and I give myself a hug. So I love myself, and I love everyone here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming. It's all part of it. And we are dancing through this, and sometimes crawling, and sometimes getting a sledgehammer to the face. I mean, it's all true, and it's all working. And when you can get to that true fun, like this is fun, then you know you're kind of breaking through. So, and that self retrieval is coming in. So, I love you. I love everyone here. And I have sessions available, and the website's closed actually. Now that this, yeah, he's funny. Now that I have this aspect a little bit more on my side, I think we'll get some more traction with that, which I am very excited for. So, and we'll see where it goes from here. This is a lot is moving. So much is moving. And I get a lot of love to my friends who have helped me along this way. So I give a lot of love to Danielle and Monica. So thank you. And this land itself, because it came in a couple of times, very, very special, along with the lightning beings. So here we go. So with that, have a beautiful rest of your day. Say hi to the land you're on, and give yourself a big hug. And with that, shine bright. Take care.